unapologetic atheist interracial couple's progressive response to the fucking internet.
Right.
Yeah.
The entire movie wouldn't have happened if the patriarchy wasn't a thing. If it just hadn't won.
The whole movie wouldn't have happened?
The entire movie
How?
wouldn't have happened.
Hold on,
okay.
let's break this down. Okay. Like, we need to...
Well, first, okay, let's fill in the audience first. So, right now, audience, HBO Max has a mummy collection, and that includes the first one. So, we're rewatching The Mummy, right?
Yeah. Excellent
and it
movies.
Occurs to me, yeah, great fun. What a romp.
They get cheesier as they go, but the first one's great.
They're all cheesy, but they're all romps. And I low-key stand on Knox to the Moon, and I wanted her to come back. For good. Anyway, so I would have gladly have given Evie for a Knox to the Moon. Knox to the Moon was a bad bitch. Okay, anyway. Oh, yeah. So I'm watching the movie, and I realize, okay, Evie, right?
Yeah.
Had she simply been let into the Bembridge Scholars, okay?
She mentions that so many times, too.
Listen, okay? Had they simply let her into the Bembridge Scholars, they could have schooled her ass, and she would have known to not read from the Book of the Dead. And then all of those innocent Egyptian lives could have been saved.
Right. All because they wouldn't let her into the school.
They didn't let her into the Bembridge Scholars.
Yeah, because she was a woman. Well, see, this is why we need progression. Because then mummies will kill you.
I mean, I was watching that movie and I was just like, oh my God, this is a feminist folktale.
It is. It's a cautionary tale.
It is. This is how the patriarchy fucks up society. You could have just let the woman be in the Bembridge Scholars.
And she was clearly awesome at it,
Paradus. She was pronouncing those hieroglyphics, okay? She was a translator of the hieroglyphics. I loved it.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Unapologetics. I am Brently.
And I'm Nikki. Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah.
You doing all right?
I hope they're great. We're great.
We're great.
And we're about to have a really great show.
Well, speaking of curses like that of in The Mummy.
That was an excellent segue, babe.
That was my segue. Yeah.
Top flight production here, y'all. Top flight producing.
That's right. And we got cool, just crazy shit in Florida. We got this, the Devil's Chair of Cassadaga.
Ooh.
Yeah. So... Cassadaga, first I need to break this down real quick. It's basically the witch capital of Florida.
Yes.
And I don't know if do all states have witch capitals?
I mean, clearly.
I don't know. Okay. All right.
Obviously.
It just seems
there
weird.
has to be. I mean, it's in some bylaws somewhere that there has to be a coven in every state.
We're all going here. It's bullshit. We need a space. Many of the original Cassadaga spiritualists are buried about a mile up the road in Lake Helen Cemetery. Each Halloween, guards must be posted at the cemetery to ward off outside pranksters.
How annoying.
I know, right? And curiosity seekers looking for goblins.
Why would you want to find a goblin? What do you do with a goblin once you found it besides be murdered by a goblin?
Maybe they think it's going to be like the movie Paul. I don't know.
That is not a goblin. That is not like the precedent is not congruent.
It'd be like Casper the Friendly Goblin. I don't know.
I love it.
But one of the big attractions at the cemetery has always been the sinister Devil's Chair. According to the stories, if you sit in the brick chair at midnight, the devil will communicate with you.
Oh, what? What Are we just talking about the weather? Like, how intimate is the communication between
this
you
weather's
and Satan?
fucking bullshit, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, devil. Totally.
What level of intimacy do you immediately have with Satan? I don't know. I feel like you can get right to like your deepest, darkest secrets.
Right? He's like, or just go straight. Jesus is an asshole, right? Right? I mean, what a dick.
Am I right? Oh my God. It would make total sense that Satan is like an Andrew Dice Clay kind of comic. That's his whole personality. That would be so fitting.
Oh, man. But according to the stories, if you sit in the brick chair, the devil will communicate with you. The Prince of Darkness also enjoys a cold beer.
Who doesn't?
Like, I mean, right?
I mean, that we can all have in common. That's a pretty universal experience.
For we're told that if you place an unopened can of beer on the chair, it will be empty the next morning. So you just leave them a beer. Here you go, buddy. Here you go.
Cold burr is enough to get Satan to just hop on down to Florida one day. One day a year.
That's his spot,
put out
man.
that cold beer.
It's his timeshare. That's what that chair is.
It
Timeshare.
would be a timeshare. Of course it would. It would be those kind of timeshares that you literally have to file a lawsuit in order to stop paying. Because that's the level of fucking Florida timeshares are.
He invented it, really. I mean, he's who do you think convinced the people to do that?
Love it.
Actually, and get this is my favorite. Actually, there are 3 such brick chairs, so it is a little confusing trying to figure out which is El Diablo's.
Wait, so there are 3 devil's chairs, or there are
I don't know, maybe
3
one's
chairs?
Moloch's. I don't know.
What does this mean? Oh my God. Way to make up something that has be consistent. There needs to be one chair that is clearly established as El Diablo's chair.
You just got to sit down at midnight, and if you hear voices, then that's the right one, and the others, I don't know.
He plays musical chairs.
But again, maybe the other ones are like, what's the Hades? Maybe it's Hades, and then the other one is Moloch, and you got to figure out which one of these guys are the devil.
You keep saying this name Moloch.
Moloch, it's the owl demon that the Illuminati people worship at Bohemian Grove. So, just didn't know if you knew that. He requires baby sacrifice. But, yeah, no, Casadega is...
That was definitely one of those situations where I was sorry I asked. I definitely could have just gone a lifetime without knowing that. That's one of those, like, in context, I probably don't want to know what this is. I should just let this go.
He's a bad baddie. Let's just put it that way.
He's a bad baddie. Bad baddie.
But,
cool.
Yeah, I know. I remember going to Casadega, or being afraid of Casadega. Actually, we weren't allowed to go there. And... they actually had.
We weren't allowed to go there. I love how you just dropped that in there. Like,
I remember my mom being like, me and my dad had to go there at one point for a thing that we were doing, and my mom was just like not happy about it. She was like, "You need to go do the thing and get the fuck right back here, okay?" Because
without the F-bomb, because
no, she didn't say
your mom would never.
That's true. But yeah, and we went, and I remember we stopped at a Circle K, and they did have like a palm reading like person in the Circle K. That's how
efficient,
right?
Can you imagine? Like, I will take 20 on pump 2 and a quick palm reading thing.
Right.
I need an express, Avi. I'm on my lunch break. It is only 30 minutes. I know, bullshit, but I just need this real quick.
That's right. I needed to do. I had to get a twofer here, and I knew that
it's like
you guys are both here.
Wash.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's like legit. That's brilliant. Like, I can get a hot dog, a car wash, fucking gas, a Coke, and a palm reading.
And learn the future. Yeah,
that is an entire Friday night, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's badass.
Yeah.
But once again, we got that from Weird Florida. Mm-hmm. It's a book, a travel guide by Charlie Carlson.
Yeah.
So thank you,
check
Charlie.
that out.
This is bringing us endless joy.
And they do every state. So whatever state you're in, if you're an American listener, obviously, but check it out. Check it out. See what the weird local legends are. It's kind of fun.
Start telling us stuff about that. I can't wait to visit some of these places. Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll do video evidence of us
Yes.
visiting the Devil's Chair. It's going to be awesome.
So we have a fun show coming. We have some headlines where we're going to basically just talk about Congress because it's been a big week for Congress.
Right.
And then we're going to do some Biggest Be Crazy.
Yay.
And we're going to do some type of way.
Yeah.
And we have another good news story because
Yeah.
the positive stuff is happening. Good things are happening.
Yes, and we need to recognize it when it happens.
Yes.
Because we tend
Or
to
it
not.
Didn't happen. I don't know if that works, but yes. Headlines.
Headlines.
Unapologetics. Headlines.
So, I'm sure this entire period is going to be known as like the test of the legislative branch or something like that because they've been doing a lot this week. A lot of interesting things went down.
Yeah.
So let's talk about them.
Sure.
Or let's talk about them.
What-
So let's first talk about Congress. Let's talk about the impeachment. And so this is Sunday.
Another one?
I mean the second one in a record period of time. So already breaking new ground. But so this is Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
But so yesterday we found out that Trump was impeached again. I mean, he was acquitted again.
Yeah, he was acquitted for a second time, yeah.
I mean, and my first statement was also correct.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
But we found out both things are true. But yeah, he was acquitted again, which means he gets, a lifetime of Secret Service. He gets intelligence briefing. He gets
that he might not get.
socialized health care. Yeah, he gets a lot. Apparently you're given office staff and office space. So yeah, there are a lot of little perks.
Jesus.
To being a former president that now he gets to have for life, and his children also get to enjoy because he is a former president that we did not find guilty. And
Yeah. Unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
so I don't know, man.
And with literally if you're counting day one of the defense for Trump, the literal worst defense. I mean, you kind of have to address the defense at some point within your defense, right? Like,
And
you
it's-
kind of need to be
yes.
talking about the case at some point, like,
it
Unbelievable.
was awful. And especially like the Democrats did the impeachment managers did such a good job. Like, I was listening and I was like, "Ooh, they're bringing receipts from way back."
Right.
Like,
Dude.
they are making this case, and
that was part. And see, that's the thing is, that's not like, we're gonna play a clip in a second here, but and I don't think this is in it, which I don't understand why it's not. It was so funny because like the first guy, the first lawyer that came up in defense of Trump was just like, "Whew, okay, wow, that was you guys are making a pretty ironclad case there. We kind of we had to decide what. Oh man,
look, Trump's lawyers were like,
that was good.
Props where
That was-
props are due. We can all be honest about that here. And where are we getting this clip from?
So this is from blah blah blah. Where is it? Now This News,
Yes.
and they kind of did a mashup of just like how ridiculous this defense lawyers were, just right out the gate, and it's fucking it is just chef's kiss. Like,
They did everything they could but to talk about the question at hand.
We enjoy being around one another, even in D.C.
The joy I believed I would feel if I ever had the great privilege of appearing before this body is replaced by sadness and pain.
I came down earlier in the week to try to figure out how to find my way around. I worked in this building 40 years ago. I got lost then, and I still do.
My overriding emotion is frankly wanting to cry for what I believe these proceedings will do to our great, so long enduring, sacred Constitution.
And we still know what records are, right? On the thing you put the needle down on and you play it.
It was disorganized, random, had nothing. They talked about many things, but they didn't talk about the issue at hand. And the House managers made a compelling, cogent case, and the president's team did not.
I know this is a lot to listen to at once, a lot of words, but words are what make our Constitution, quite frankly.
Senators of the United States, they're not ordinary people. You could grow up to be a United States Senator.
Oh.
You could do that. They're just men and women like you are.
Sail forth. Sail forth into the sea, O ship, through wind and wave, right onward steer. The moistened eye, the trembling lip, are not the signs of doubt or fear.
Manslaughter is the killing of a human being upon sudden and intense provocation.
Oh.
But murder is done with cold blood and reflective thought.
Sail forth into the sea of life, O gentle, loving, trusting wife, and safe from all adversity upon the bosom of that sea, thy comings and thy goings be.
I saw a headline, Representative so-and-so seeks to walk back comments about, I forget what it was, something that bothered her.
Fear not each sudden sound and shock. 'Tis of the wave, excuse me. 'Tis of the wave and not the rock. 'Tis but the flapping of the sail and not a rent made by the gale.
House managers who spoke earlier were brilliant speakers. I thought they were brilliant speakers, and I loved listening to them. And they were smart fellas.
Sail on, not fear to breast the sea. Our hearts, our hopes are all with thee.
We are really here because the majority in the House of Representatives does not want to face Donald Trump as a political rival in the future. Nobody says it that plainly, but unfortunately I have a way of speaking that way.
Our hearts, our hopes, our prayers, our tears, our faith triumphant over our fears, are all with thee, are all with thee.
Why do you think that?
What the
I feel like, can I just, too many poems. There's too many poems.
It's just the one, but too many poems. Too many fucking poems for your goddamn defense.
It should be short and sweet. Like, we don't need that. And then who brings up manslaughter and murder at an impeachment trial? Don't do that.
What are you That's not.
It can't possibly have anything to do with anything.
That was so funny. Oh man, he just got up there and was just. And the first guy was the funniest, man, because I swear, the people that were rooting for him. I mean, there was a clip of Lindsey Graham being like, "I really was trying to follow him, and I didn't." He said it just
great
that.
Lindsey Graham, by the way. Great Lindsey Graham. Well, how can you? I mean, that was really odd. And it's just no one cares that you worked there 40 years ago. That can't be germane to your client and what they're doing. Not that I'm trying to root for you to be more competent for Donald Trump.
No.
But it's just even more disappointing that he was acquitted even with the worst representation.
Right.
It's just even more well, what the fuck was this about then? And I mean, I think we know exactly what it's about. It was just about Republicans, including our very own senators.
It wasn't even like it was a bad defense. It wasn't a defense. He just got up there and was like, my dad and I, we used to go fishing. My dad loved fishing. And he said, you can fish with dynamite. Senators are, we have senators. There's a lot of senators. And some of them, the senator that we had in the state that I live, he had a voice that was just so rough and grisly. And have you seen the Texas flag? The Texas flag is, I mean, you really got to pay attention to what's on it. Like, it didn't even complete his thoughts. Like, each time, like, you're like, okay, this has something to do with something. And he doesn't even, it's like he just stops. And, like, it was like, that didn't relate to literally, like, he's just killing time. It was amazing. It was amazing.
These are our nation's leading professionals. So, it's just really... It's sad. They didn't even take it seriously. It wasn't even important. And it turns out it didn't even matter because the exact Republicans that we knew voted against it. So, I mean...
And keep in mind, like, Trump had a whole legal team already that he was, you know, they were like, okay, here's our defense. Here's what we're going to do. They put out, like, a whole plan. And he was like, no, here's what you're going to do. You're going to say the election was a fraud. There's tons of evidence. It's all a hoax. Everything's a hoax. And they were just like, okay, I quit. I'm done with this fucking shit. And they all walked out. They all left, you know? And so he was stuck with these idiots, you know, that were the only people.
It still didn't matter.
To show up.
Like, it was fine. It was all fine. It still worked out. And it's going to be interesting to see what the hell we're ever going to get done when we always have a contingent of Republicans that are willing to do the absolute worst thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, where do we go from here? Where do we go knowing that a president can just basically do whatever they want to do, and as long as their party is backing them, they'll never get held accountable for committing literal crimes?
Yeah.
That's
terrifying. That's terrifying.
Like, that is the lesson that has been learned completely.
And that's a precedent that's been set, is like, hey, as long as it's my team, they can do crimes, you know?
Yep.
And then we're going to get mad about, you know, $7,000 watches of the other guy. You know? It's just
basically
unbelievable. And it's politics has turned so fucking wacky.
I mean, it's always been like this, let's be real.
Is it really?
I mean,
see, I've only been into it for like 4 years. So
I you know, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to act like there hasn't been.
I know there was a brown suit problem at some point, you know, where Obama was wearing a brown suit or a tan suit, and everybody was like, "Oh my fuck, what?
I mean,
what an asshole!"
I think it's hard to argue that politics hasn't always been corrupt everywhere, but certainly here. I think what is becoming surprising is how much folks can openly be awful and have so many institutions just go along with it.
Right. Like they've desensitized us. They've desensitized us to the awful. Mm-hmm. Right. And so now they're just like, okay, well, they got to, like, you know, that, you know, Ted Cruz is like, well, he got away with it, so I bet I can do it. I can do this.
Is that what Ted Cruz sounds like?
I can do it.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean,
feel like
I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
So I'm working
I was just going to say, like, it's almost there, but I feel
like
there's a Texas.
I've ever tried.
I feel like you're still doing a twang that's like Alabama when Texas has its own thing.
Oh,
you're
really?
getting there. Yeah.
What's Texas like? It's like getting. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I feel like it's just
I don't know
less
the difference between
twangy. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Accents. I can't.
But yeah, it's like we think Ted Cruz is bad. Who's going to be Ted Cruz 2.0? You know, who's going to be Josh Hawley 2.0?
That's what I'm worried about.
Because we are sending a huge, bright fucking signal that it is okay for you to be as awful as possible as long as you can manage to get enough people to elect you.
Yeah.
Because there are no more standards. And speaking of standards, what a great segue. Mm-hmm. Let's talk also about the big move that happened in the House where Marjorie Taylor Greene was stripped of all of her committee assignments.
Yes.
For being outside the norm.
Crazy. Yeah.
For believing in some things, some non-mainstream things. Because now our worlds are just like facts that, like, things that mainstream people believe and things that only a small group of people believe, but that doesn't mean that it's not real.
What's funny is like
just those two categories.
I love it because it was like the Jewish space laser article came out, and then that day she went back and was like, "Oh, I better delete this tweet." There was an article about it. It's too fucking late, lady. What are you doing? Like, you can't delete the thing. Like, there's already an article about it.
I am so of two minds about this because, okay, I don't know how it all works out in the end because the narratives that get created aren't in fact deep enough to cover what's actually happening. And I can't fucking stand that.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like we either talked about it on the show or I pulled an article for the show and we ended up not having time or something. But there was an article already, I think that was in the Washington Post, either the Washington Post or New York Times, about a person who tried to run against Marjorie Taylor Greene and basically had to drop out because the violence would be like he was afraid for his family's life.
Wow. And that makes so much sense, you know?
Yeah. And this is a big thing. I mean, we're talking about local elections here. We're talking about elections where people have to be very front facing and even during COVID have to go out and do things where they're in harm's way. And then everything about what you're doing is known. You have to put your address, your actual physical address. You have to, like, you know, people know where your kids go to school. They know where you work. They know where your family works. Like, it is, is a function of local politics. It just is what it is. So
when you have when you're running against a fascist psychopath with an AR-15 that's telling everybody that you're trying, that you're raping and eating babies, and they want to take your guns away.
Where do we go from here?
And the people will believe it. By the way, that's important.
Because let's look at what happened. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected. It actually, people started to actually pay attention to what she actually believed, even though it was never a secret. I mean, she moved from her metro Atlanta suburb to a more rural area with the blessing of the Georgia GOP because they told her she would have a better chance of winning. So the idea that she wasn't already vetted by her own party is wild.
Bizarre.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we covered her. I swear we covered her
we
before
did.
She was even on the front page of every newspaper months ago.
And I guess the point is, the reason why this is a big deal now when it wasn't a big deal then is because she wasn't sworn in yet. So the House didn't have any power to censor her in any way. I mean, I guess they could have not seated her, but then that would have been a whole other thing. But it's I guess this was the first opportunity for them to actually address it. So that's why that's why it's a bigger deal now than it was. But it's still just where were the 50,000 pieces of I guess they were there, of just Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lori Boebert, some of the other people that have been elected this election that are just this is indicative of the problem we're talking about. But whatever, let's talk about it.
Sorry.
Congress stripped her of her committee assignments. She, of course, is taking this as they don't know what I'm going to do when I have time on my hands.
Oh, the worst thing you can do for me is not let me do anything because then I'm going to do all the things. Fuck.
And
shit. No, that's
so that's not how that. No, but also here's the reality too, though. The Democrats are doing a thing, right? That seems like the right move, which is, okay, we're going to let everybody know that you can't be like this and still be a representative. But she is still a representative.
Yeah, technically.
She still got elected.
She's just, she's benched, basically. She's a benched sports ball player.
But who cares? They're only 2-year gigs. Who cares?
Yeah.
She doesn't care if she doesn't get any work done. And she's just going to Matt Gaetz it, which is use this opportunity to make as much money as possible.
Right.
And the thing is, that's the whole reason they started this in the first place.
Right. I mean, to me, it seems almost when they did that, she's like, okay, so I'm your Twitter representative, I guess. That's what I am. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I got this. I'll do a tweet every 20 minutes.
Because the reality is she didn't come there to do any work in the first place.
No.
So now you've taken away an opportunity for her to actually be busy and be evaluated based on something. But instead, but it also is kind of wild because then we have to admit that we live in a time where we don't really expect our representatives to be that successful anymore. I mean, look at a Ted Cruz, look at a Marco Rubio, look at they haven't actually accomplished anything really of note since they've been in office. I mean, even when you look at our party, there are plenty of representatives that are doing good work, but their name hasn't been on a bill. Like, they haven't had a bill signed into law with like their actual names on it or anything like that. Like, we just don't have a lot of opportunities for representatives to really show themselves anymore. And you know why? Because we don't fucking pass anything anymore. Or like the House passes stuff, but then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it just gets stumped.
It just
like,
sits there.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Or
it's
snubbed.
like, I feel so of two minds about this. Like, okay, cool. Democrats had some power and they used it and they rebuked her, and that's awesome. But they rebuked her in a way that it has no teeth. It's like when a baby bites you. Like, does it really hurt?
It's almost the exact same thing they did with Steve King, right?
Yes.
They were just like, okay, white supremacist man. No, you're not fired, but you don't get to like talk to humans anymore, okay? Like, you're talking to other humans. Privilege has been revoked. Can you just sit in the back, please?
Yeah.
But no,
And
you're here.
apparently
You're here, and we're down with you. But you know,
and apparently the person who replaced
stop.
Steve King is not that great either. So my thing is, okay, we're focusing so much on Marjorie Taylor Greene and woo, we dealt with her, I guess. But my question is, how do we deal with the fact that this is a growing part of the population, and 2022 isn't going to make this better? It's likely going to be worse.
right?
Like, it's almost as if everyone, except for the people, I don't know. It's like, it seems like, does anyone else see that the Republican Party is just broken?
Well, that's what I was just about to say. It's
Maybe
like
that's a loaded
I'm kinda-
statement. I don't know. Maybe that's too big of a statement. I don't know.
Well, hold on. Here's what I think. I think that because of all this, and I'm hoping that there's enough rational people out there, even on the right, that are seeing everything that happened after the insurrection. Trump wanting to make his own political party, the Patriots, and then people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And so it just shattered the fucking Republican Party, and how they were all lockstep before, and everybody and didn't matter what they were about or like the crazy thing, like they would just vote for it because of, two things. Now this is kind of just put up these huge divides within their own party to the point now where Trump wants to start his own party. I'm really hoping that this is the end of the Republican Party, in a way that's like, hey, now we're gonna have the new Patriot Party, and so that's gonna pull votes away from the Republican Party. That's because they hated Pence. Pence is like as Republican as you can fucking get, and they went against him, So I'm saying, like, you got the Trump Party, and I feel like, and it's a large portion of the Republican Party. So is the rhinos or whatever. But you know what I mean? But so there's a divide now. There's a divide. It's almost like how there is on the Democratic Party between the progressives and your old guard Democrats, that have been there forever.
Absolutely. And I think you're right about a House divided. I think it's very clear if you look at some of the things that have been happening at internal Republican conferences and meetings, that absolutely, like the Republican Party anyway, that absolutely it's a House divided. I guess my question is, if the House divided is actually going to lead to more Democrats being elected and more power, because it seems to me we just once again got like the president just got acquitted again. And instead of Marjorie Taylor Greene being expelled from Congress, she just got, she just lost some committee. She just lost work.
Yeah.
Like, she gets to just collect on a paycheck while not doing work. It just seems to me
a government
like
paycheck to do nothing.
Yeah, it just
I thought
seems
you guys
to me
didn't like that. I
Like,
thought
even
that
though
was
they're
something
not
against.
in power, they're still in power. And that's the thing that's terrifying, is that even without the numbers, they're still able to wield incredible amount of institutional government power.
Right. Well, they have 2 years, right, to convince the people that are now like going, holy shit, we're like, this is all bad and I'm not going to be a Republican, or I'm not going to be that kind of Republican. Like all that, like they got 2 years to mobilize those people, right?
You're correct.
So they're going to do everything they can.
Correct, like I'm a computer.
You are correct. My logic is infallible. Whatever. But no, so they got 2 years to try to fix that and try to get everybody, and mind you, this is serious, to get as scared of the Democrats as humanly fucking possible, because that was the trick that Trump used. You know what I mean? Was to get them as angry and as fearful of the Democratic Party as absolute possible. You know what I mean? They got to just do that. And I feel like a lot of the Republicans woke up during this whole thing, or like during the insurrection. Like there was like 30,000 Republicans left the Republican Party, you know, because of this whole, it was like a mass exodus of the Republican Party because of this whole insurrection and everything like that. So, you know, they have their work cut out for them, because 30,000 people were like, oh shit. Ah, man, these people aren't actually good. They just sort of like a couple of the things I like.
But we have to compare that to all the more fucking people who voted for Trump.
Right.
Like in comparison to his vote increase share versus 30,000 people leaving the party. I don't know.
That's the thing.
And are they leaving because of Trump, or are they leaving because of the Republican brand?
I think they're leaving because of Trump, because of the insurrection, because that was when it happened. So it was like this whole, like, they're like, we're not Q people.
But do you see how it can
like,
be either or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, it could be either. Unless, did they poll for, like, what's your actual reason? Is it because you don't want to be in the same party as Donald Trump? Or is it because you think the Republicans weren't strong enough in, like, making sure the election went to Trump?
Well, they were like, no, they were like, we're not Q people. Like, we're not that.
Okay.
We aren't this crazy psycho.
That's what I was missing. Perfect.
Okay, yeah, that was like what. So they're kind of divided because of that. So their own tactic that the Republicans used to garnish power for the past 4 years is now working against them, and has now divided them, because they played their hands so loudly that everybody was like, oh shit, I'm in a fucking fascist party. You know, that just is lying to its people to make them think that the other side is eating fucking babies in order to get the votes that they need. You know, and I ain't about that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe this could be the start of, and I'm sure we're going to have the Patriot Party. I'm sure that's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking
so it's going to be the Patriot Party, the Republican Party, against the fucking Democrats. You know?
Against the fucking Democrats.
And now we're going to be the powerhouse, because we're all going to be lockstep, or not as lockstep, but we're going to, understand politics enough to go, we got to go with the lesser evil enough to be against these people, and they can't win anything.
Speaking of which, tonight after dinner, we are going to be playing Monopoly House Divided edition.
Yeah. I
found it and I just couldn't not have it. So it's like,
that's so cool.
Why stop at Boardwalk? Now you can have the White House. So I can't wait to play that. I love topical.
That's awesome.
Fucking Monopoly. I was looking for fucking Golden Girls Monopoly, but couldn't find it. What? So I settled on House Divided Monopoly. So that's what we're going to be playing. Anyway, I think I hope I think this is something that we're all watching and looking forward to seeing how it's going to play out in 2022, especially. And the thing I was really concerned with too is, like, now we're watching all of these state Republicans do new legislative tricks to basically fuck up voting rights. And I'm trying to figure out, how the fuck are we ever going to find election workers now? Like, trustworthy, like,
it's going to have to be like police now.
Election workers.
You know, like, you can die, right? Okay, go ahead. You can be
like,
this.
You know that your face and your physical address may be leaked to the public, and a mob may come for you. Yeah. Just so you know. And this is all like, this is all either volunteer or very low paid. Like, it's just, that's, oh my God, it's going to be so bad.
And then they're always just going to say, oh, you paid off these people to be the...
It's becoming, I mean, elections are going to become so contentious now. We just, you know what? Something great is going to happen, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be like this moment where I think the Christians talk about it like Jesus is just going to come down and everyone's going to die. It's going to be that moment. But I think we should look at it as like something is going to happen. It's going to be a great thing. And then all of a sudden, everyone's just going to be like, oh my God, the Republicans are grifters.
It's all going to be exposed. Yeah.
We're all just going to have the same revelation.
That's our version of Q. It's actually X. It's not Q. It's X anon conspiracy. I know. They're all going to realize they were grifted by Q. And that's
a simultaneous awakening.
We got to go get past March 4th.
Like that movie with those glasses.
Yeah.
I never remember the name of it.
They Live.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought it was They Live, but I'm like, is it They Live? Isn't
It's
that
such a
horror
stupid
movie?
name. They should not have named it that.
I don't know.
You know.
Anyway, well, I guess it is kind of a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Carpenter,
some Biggest Be Crazy?
Yeah, you want to do Biggest Be Crazy? Let's do it.
Some Biggest Be Crazy.
All right. There's a lot of them. Being crazy.
It's endless.
A lot of them.
It's just endless. We never have trouble finding stories for this.
Right. We'll be able to do this segment in perpetuity. Biggest be crazy and make me insane. It's only fucked up shit they say. Biggest be crazy and make me insane. I wish they'd all fucking go away, 'cause biggest be crazy.
So, first up, we got some church gossip in Biggest Be Crazy.
Oh, church gossip.
Yes.
A
So, have you been paying attention to this whole Hillsong New York fiasco?
I have not. No. What
Wow.
happened?
Okay.
It's a fiasco of some sort?
It's a fiasco.
Oh, shit.
So, Hillsong New York City is the most like gentrified hipster church. The pastor is like a hip pastor.
Oh, no.
Same as Carl Lentz. Well, it's a famous church. It's where a bunch of celebrities go, all this.
Right.
And you know Hillsong. Hillsong's just big.
Oh, I know Hillsong. I mean, I remember Hillsong from when I was, in church and stuff. Like, they wrote most of the songs that we would play in our worship and stuff.
Listen,
Yeah.
in reading this, they apparently have like 150,000 congregants per satellite branches around the country. Like, that's a lot of fucking people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah. They don't call them mega churches for no
30
reason,
countries. And I found out they have their own college. It's called simply Hillsong College.
Where is it? Is it in America?
In Australia.
It's in Australia. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, I don't think there's anything like that here. But,
apparently you can get diplomas here. So you can get
what?
I guess the equivalent of a certificate at their USA branch.
I mean, it's not a real college anyway. I mean, really.
But I don't know. I guess it's
over
accredited
the
by college. I mean, the religious college people, because you can get the Australian college, you can get like a BA or a master's in theology. Oh. So I don't know. Must be maybe legit.
I don't trust it.
It's likely legit. I'm sure they got some kind of accreditation from somewhere
to make it legit. Yeah.
But schools of divinity exist. I don't know how they're. I don't know how that works.
I don't either.
But regardless, the point is they have a shit ton of members and a lot of just their own bubble. So Carl Lentz recently was outed because he was having an affair on his wife. And it's amazing. It's so interesting because they're just like this really young Hollywood looking family. They're just so perfect looking. And then of course the news came out that he had been cheating on his wife. And of course this wasn't the first time. And then that led to...
That's the problem with perfect people. It's all just an aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's never it never goes deeper than that. That's it.
It is never, you're correct. So anyway, that scandal led to an even bigger like investigation with what was going on. And apparently there were several other members of the church that were basically having affairs. They like rampant abuse of tithes. Like they were just like taking money, putting it on these debit cards, and just giving them out to people to buy any old thing.
Look, I really
people
need
paying their rent and shit with it.
I really need a My Pillow. So I feel like the God totally wants me to get a My Pillow. So
yes, it's very important. So it's just very interesting because they did a whole investigation. They got a third party to come in, and they're basically just like, you know, trying to clean it up now. Hillsong is. It's really interesting watching it, like reading about it, because it feels so much like a corporation.
It is.
And exactly what they do. Because they hired like an outside law firm to do an investigation. But all the while it's like, but you're paying the bill, so you still get to like control this. Like,
right.
I love how they're like, well, we hired a third party to investigate, but it's like, but you're paying the bill for that. So
right.
I would imagine you have some power there.
It's funny because I remember when the church that I used to go to actually split fairly recently, you know, and I remember they said that same thing. They said it wasn't a law firm or anything, but it was like a board of evangelical leaders of some kind that they had assembled to like come in and make decisions, you know, and almost basically do an investigation and make decisions. But it's just funny that, you know, it's almost like they do that to try to be like, look, it's not just us, you know, because there's a split, you know.
It has the appearance of being impartial, but how much do we know? Because I would imagine
the people that hired
getting onto a board that gets to decide these things has to be a highly political process.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
And you don't know if the person that hired them is like, you guys are all with me, right? Right? Okay, you're on my side, right? You know? How do you know?
So I have no idea, and we don't know. But apparently they concluded the investigation. I'm getting this from a Vanity Fair article, and they're basically stripping Hillsong New York City, which is where Carl Lentz and his wife, both of them worked there. Like the whole family worked there. Okay. And they were making buku cash, Brent. Like so much cash, so like designer everything.
Right.
Oh my God. So interestingly though, they now, Carl Lentz and his wife and family, moved pretty quickly to California. And started living in another like palatial looking mansion. And apparently, get this, their $16,000 rent. Okay. They moved to Manhattan Beach to California. Their $16,000 rent. Guess who's rumored to be paying that?
Who?
It is gonna, like, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? Tyler Perry.
Oh, I was going to say Chris Pratt. Damn.
That would have been a good guess.
I was close.
But I don't think he goes to Hillsong. I think Chris Pratt goes to a church just like Hillsong, but that isn't Hillsong.
Oh, it's Spill Song. Like it's
yes.
The second church of Hillsong. I don't fucking.
Oh yeah, here's a picture of the pastor. That's Carl Lentz.
Oh, wow. See, he's like, he looks like he's doing a
like
rap video of some
hardcore,
just like R&B stuff.
I don't even know. It's hard. It's like hardcore Christian. They're like emo Christians, like emo hipster Christians. It's amazing. But I just think that's so interesting that these churches are so big that whenever there's any sort of scandal, they're just like, oh, we're just going to, you know, eliminate that branch and move forward.
Yeah.
Like never any like,
we took
I don't
care
know.
of it.
You know what I mean? I don't know. And I just it's sad to me that there's just so much money going through these places that there's such a overwhelming incentive to sweep things under the rug. Because they, you know, the big thing that they did was like, oh yeah, we're just not going to have any, like that New York City church is, you know, can't be affiliated with Hillsong anymore. But it's like, apparently there are issues at a bunch of other Hillsongs too, of
no
people
shit.
who have got allegations against them, and like, you know, just corruption and just money going missing and all this. But no, it's just a New York City church problem. Like, we've solved the problem.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting to me.
Like, we hired people outside, so I mean, they took care of it.
Yeah, it's all done now.
Yeah,
it's all done, and all that money. I mean, what happened to all those parishioners and all that money? Like, what? That's the part to me that's just
no. Stop! No, you're not allowed to ask. Don't ask. Money. What
And
money?
then if
There's no
I'm
money.
if I'm the American IRS, I would feel like my interest is, if this is happening at one church, it's time to investigate them all, right?
You would think. I don't think that's
Because-
going to be the case. I don't think that's what's going to be what's
No,
happening.
I'm sure. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sure that's not what's going to happen. But that's my question.
But
It's
yes,
just like,
you would be correct in assuming that's what you should do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I just don't understand how these churches get to operate like corporations and yet have fewer regulatory requirements.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
They don't
I
have to report shit when it comes to finances. They don't have to do, I mean, they're just like off on their own, dude. They're just like a country of their own, making their rules.
Yeah. I don't know, but
Because religious freedom.
yeah. Religious freedom.
That's why.
Which ends up working like religion boosting, religion security.
You can't tell us how we can or cannot scam people out of money. What do you get the fuck out of here? Okay. This is
I mean,
our
that's
place,
that's
bro.
pretty much what it comes down to. I don't know. I would just feel so duped if I were like going to that church, and I just oh my goodness,
You'd be correct.
you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like such a slap in the face to be going to a church and you're thinking everything's great, and all of a sudden it's like your tithes are being used on, $5,000 a month apartments for people's mistresses and shit. You're just like, really?
Like, God damn it, man. I did the brochure and checked the box next to the African kid and everything. What the fuck?
What?
No, that's a thing where you do, want your donations to go to a certain place, and in the brochure they will give you little things that they want you to donate towards, and then you check the boxes.
Who is they?
The church.
Oh, wow.
At the church, they give you a brochure, and it's got all these different things that they want you to check.
I
And
never
this is
knew
where your
that.
money goes to. Yeah. No, you never
Is that
heard
like
that?
a mission trip or something?
Well, it's all sorts of stuff. But the funny thing is that a lot of times, it doesn't even end up.
It's just helping you to feel like you're more in charge
You're
of
like,
your money.
yes.
When really everything's going into that
That
gray
church.
slush fund.
And they're going to decide where the money goes and where it doesn't, and you have no way of checking any of that. But they put it on the brochure.
How clever!
You can decide.
They are
like,
corporations.
Yeah.
How clever!
There's like the building fund that shows, that's a picture of like a door falling off of the hinge, And you check that box. You want to fix the broken door.
Oh, that is.
That's funny. You never heard of that. Yeah, they do that.
That's quite interesting.
Because white people are specific about where they want their money to go. They're like, I don't want my money to go to this stupid building. I want it to go to the kids in, the missions trip.
That's just so weird, because you would think that's who is the motherfucker that's choosing the building fund over the starving children.
It's just the church people, and they don't have to. They don't have to show that shit to anybody. So it's not like they have to be honest at all.
I don't like it.
And they I think they rarely are.
I don't like it. So anyway, yeah, be wary, Hillsong parishioners. Like, y'all listen to this show.
We know you're listeners. We know.
Be wary, because there might be some hanky stuff going on in the church's finances. Like, I don't even really give a shit about the affairs. Like, who cares?
I think
honestly, that's
honestly,
only interesting insofar as, they're supposed to be moral and stuff, and they have all of these opinions about LGBTQ stuff.
But that's like their whole bread and butter is like, I'm so moral that you guys give me money to tell you what God says.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like that kind of fucks up their whole shtick. You know what I mean?
You're correct.
But you know,
I see that.
it's still because and that's why they hide it so much. That's the problem. That's why the Catholic Church hides all this stuff. You know,
but you have to be a certain type of egomaniac to think you can be a pastor of a church that damn big and get away with having an affair with a non-parishioner. That's the thing. She didn't even really go to the church.
No, really?
No.
Dude,
he lied to her about who he was.
Wow. See. Dude, you're gonna
that's just.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my god, that's next level.
You're a fucking church, dude. The whole point that you all go there together is because the thing that you have in common is that you're all busybodies. That's the whole point of why you're there. You know, it's a busybody gathering. That's it. That's what it is.
You're going to be found out eventually. You're going to be found out.
Yeah. What do you think you're doing? Like, who do you think is in the crowd when you're talking, dude?
But anyway, yeah, don't do that anymore. But I'm sure within a couple years, you'll see him on some kind of redemption tour and he'll have his own church. Because if you have Tyler Perry paying $16,000 a month for you to live in like some palatial mansion after you've lost your job, I just think that you probably have some good friends in good places.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna make it. You're gonna make it after all. Oh, American dream.
I love Mary Tyler Moore. She's great. Great show.
Was great.
I love Murray. He was my favorite. Anyway,
thank you, Brent. That was adorbs.
I need it. Yeah.
Okay, you had the next story?
Yeah. This is okay. So this comes accompanied with a clip, and it just. Oh no! Did it really turn off?
On now. I turned it on.
Oh, and I'm connected. Okay, we're good. I'm sorry. Sorry, y'all. Nikki was on top of it. So no, this was just a really funny video, and I caught it the best way. Like, so the whole thing was like a lot of times, and I think a lot of people do this honestly. And correct me if I'm wrong on your take here, but I think a lot of people click videos without reading the thing first. You know, you just click the thing, you know, and you're like, oh, let's see the video, and then you go back and you read it. You know what I mean? And that's exactly how I absorbed this, and it was. I was so glad that I did. I was so glad. It was just a video I clicked while scrolling. Didn't read shit. I didn't read shit.
I mean, I can see why that would be enjoyable, but like I don't usually do that.
Well, yeah, because you're all, you know.
It was just so funny to me how you were like immediately universalizing it. And
everybody does this.
There's only 2 people in this room right now, and the other one doesn't share your experience. So I don't know what you want from
whatever.
me.
Some of us.
I guess I was just supposed to nod cool, and
chill,
say, okay.
People.
That's what I was supposed to do. Okay, I learned. Yes, okay. Tell us.
Yeah, since that's something you relate to. Okay. So I basically...
Well, at least can you tell us where is this video taking place?
So it's from the Friendly... But I don't want to give too much away. It's so funny. It's from the Friendly Atheist blog.
No, where are they in the video?
Oh, well, see, again, that's what I don't want to give... Okay, let me just play some of the clip because it's really funny. I think it's fucking hilarious.
But can you just
kind of come in handy when you're trying to get away from a jaguar?
Minutes.
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. We were talking beforehand. Yes, the sloth. This one is fast for a sloth, but he's still slow. Why? Because sloths, by definition, are slow. That's how they are made to operate. And it shouldn't surprise us that they move slowly. And in today's lessons, we see something that should not surprise us as well. And that is Christians are persecuted. Sloths move slow. Well, Christians are persecuted. That kind of happens because of who we are. Jesus even warned the disciples. But you know what? Just as I've been persecuted.
Oh, man. So, that's why I didn't want to give any context, because that would not have been as funny if you knew exactly what was coming. Because that was one hell of a left turn.
You still haven't told people where the video took place.
So, this was from... and I just needed to recap that part, okay? No, this was from...
I disagree. That's just me.
Home of the Answers in Genesis website and Twitter feed and everything. Ken Ham's in Kentucky. They have the Ken Ham's Ark Park. And apparently they do videos about just regular animals and just talk about them and then shoehorn in somehow fucking the persecution that is, Christian persecution. Which,
I was not expecting that. Well, let me tell you, that video is full of surprises because I didn't realize anything at the Ark Park was fact-based. Like, when she was, like, talking about the fucking otter, and what were we talking about? It was the otter, right?
Yeah. Well, she was talking about not an otter. It was like if something was coming to get them and they would just fall off the branch.
Yeah, otters, right?
Otters. Yeah, I think it was. It might have been otters or sea lion or something.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just she was like giving facts about an actual real animal, and I just was amazed that any of it was fact based. I'm really honest. I thought the whole thing was fantasy through and through. Yeah, like they would have just like animatronic dinosaurs and stuff, and they'd be talking about how they got the dinosaurs onto the ark.
They were just like, actually, the sloth will just automatically let go. And their hand that they have for gripping is really good for gripping unicorns' horns. And so they would wait for unicorns to run under them, and they would drop off the tree and grab onto unicorn. No.
That was it. No.
That was it. I was done.
Okay. I just thought you had more in you.
No.
Yeah. That was really wild. What's so interesting to me is like how Christians like make sure to continually to remind you that you are a victim. Like this child is just watching this video to get more. Oh, it's a sloth. Child. It wasn't an otter. It was a fucking sloth.
What?
It was a sloth.
Yeah.
They were talking about a sloth.
Oh, that's what you were. I thought you were talking about the thing they were talking about before. Never mind. Holy shit.
What do you mean the thing they were talking about before?
She was saying like something like if this thing tries to go and get them, like a lion.
A jaguar.
A jaguar, thank you.
Yes.
That's what I thought you were trying to think of.
No, the sloth. That was the point. I was like, who was the animal that she was actually giving us facts about? I don't know. In my mind, I turn a sloth into an otter.
It's kind of like a tree otter. I mean... they just,
I don't want to. No,
I can see
not
that.
Going into that because I don't know what the hell that means.
Got cute faces.
I agreed. Adorable faces.
I get it.
But then he like went into this whole like why it's a video about a sloth. Like these are children watching this probably. Why do you need to remind them that they are also Christians? And they are persecuted. Do they get a moment's rest?
I know, right?
Do they get a moment's rest?
Look how cool this sloth is here, kids. And they're like, ooh, ah. And it's like, yeah, and that means people are going to hate your ass for being a Christian. Yeah. They're going to hate you.
It's like the most depressing theme park experience in the entire contiguous United States.
They want to take your guns. They want communism. They want, they're just like, I just want to learn about the sloths.
And I love how it's like his evidentiary, proof, like the big shining, bit of proof that he had is like a sloth is a sloth because it's slothful. And it's like, and just like that means a Christian is persecuted because they're a Christian. And I'm just like, sir.
So apropos, right there.
No, this is not logically following through the way that you think it is. Like, he's truly saying a sloth is slothful because God gave it the name sloth, and thus that made it slothful.
Yeah.
And it's that's not how language or evolution or any of this goes.
They existed before we did, right? Like, before we had the brain capacity to name them. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my goodness. And it's like, there's so many words for slow. Like the fact that it became sloth isn't just because, I don't know. It's just, this is...
All sloths are going to hell, by the way. That's got to be, right? Because they're one of the 7 deadly sins, and that's why they were named that by God. So
I just know if I were a parent sitting my child down to watch virtual videos from a theme park about Noah's Ark, I would be a little on edge if it wasn't just like, ARC facts.
I wouldn't even know. Like, what? What do you want? Like, yeah, ARC facts. I guess that would be, yes.
Just ARC facts.
Here's how long it takes to fill up this much if it rains for this long.
Yes, and some flood facts.
Shit
flood
like
facts.
Flood facts, yeah.
Flood facts, ARC facts. And animal facts. Animal facts fit in there. Sure. I mean, that's pretty much it. But all this, like, you're a Christian and you're persecuted. Come on, I don't need my indoctrination at my ARC park.
Right, but most of the time it's not that shit, which is fun. That's why I was so surprised, because most of the time it's like, here's how all these animals could have survived on this thing for this long.
Expected. Completely expected that.
Yeah.
Like, that makes total sense. That's exactly what you should be talking about.
And there were dinosaurs too, by the way. Okay? And they're in that fucking thing. You know why? Because the dinosaur dragon that Daniel views in the one chapter is after Noah's Ark, right? So because Daniel comes after Noah's Ark. So that dragon had to have been on the ark. I mean, come on. That's what we're basing reality off of, so that's where we're starting from. And then we work backwards.
You're trying to make all of it make too much sense, and you've lost the plot. You've lost the plot.
Dragon.
But yeah, that's a real downer. Real downer, okay? Like, it's COVID times.
That was so funny.
Anxieties are high. Just stop it. Stop it.
Actually, no. Bring more. Keep doing this. I want to see more. This is hilarious. Like, we could use more.
I want to watch the world burn.
Please make more ridiculous comparisons for us. That would be great. And we'll be here to pick it up.
Way?
Yeah.
Some type of way.
Some type of way.
Some type of way. Some type of way. Some type of way. Yeah. Some fucking motherfucker made you fucking feel some type of way. Yeah.
All right. Some type of way.
Some type of way. Folks, we're recording this at a different time. So all of a sudden, my allergies have decided to come out because Florida has been like 55 degrees and then 70 degrees one day and then like back to 65 or like 60 and then like up to 75.
Yeah.
And all the pollen.
And
so
wind. There's lots of wind.
Yeah.
Just kicking all this shit everywhere.
It's just like, hey now, winter's ending.
Yeah.
Hey no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Brent, you're some type of way. So yeah, I'm gonna probably maybe be sneezing and sniffling, and I'm really sorry. That was the point of that whole conversation.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, not to gloat about how warm it is here currently. No, sorry about that.
No, it's my some type of way is I was actually looking on Google. I had a question because I remember that unicorns were mentioned in the Bible, and I know they were like mentioned like 9 times.
Can I tell you? It was so wild when you first told me about that. Like, I had no idea. Like, this is how like little Bible education I got growing up. I just got like, I mean, I was there at church,
right? Yeah, but
like I didn't get this like in depth understanding. Like, I got an overview, and you were like, "Yeah, they're unicorns," and I'm like, well, shut the fuck up.
Well, that's honestly something they don't really like to talk about. They don't, they don't usually.
Of course.
And I think in a lot of the more modern Bibles, they even replace that word with just like magical beast or just some sort of beast or something like that. A vague.
We're all still going to think of a unicorn,
right? Exactly.
That's a magical beast.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it used the word magical, but I don't. I'm just saying. I think they switched it out, so they didn't have to recognize that there was a unicorn in there.
So I was purposely lied to.
Pretty much.
Good to know.
It was lie by omission.
Because I would have paid attention if they would have said that they were unicorns. I mean,
right?
8-year-old me would have been like,
right.
Let me look into this more. This sounds like a great fantasy novel,
right? And and the kid, yeah, exactly. Kids would love that shit,
but instead, it's fire and brimstone.
Yeah. It's not going to make them
love
believe
that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. So I was like looking that up, and all I did was put unicorns and Bible into Google, and it was so funny because and I don't know how they come up with these questions. I imagine that it's like this question gets asked so much that it gets added to the frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
And one of the questions, this is real, I swear, it says, did the unicorns missed the ark?
Missed?
Yeah, it's not even spelled correct. Whoever wrote this in, misspelled it. Everybody that put this in must have misspelled it. I don't get it.
Did it missed, M-I-S-T, not M-I-S-S?
No, M-I-S-S-E-D. Missed.
Oh, missed.
Did the unicorns missed the ark? It was misspelled every time they asked the question. I don't know, but I just...
You know what? Let's do this thing where we give radical empathy and assume the person wasn't an English speaker.
Right. Or a child. Maybe a child got a hold of Google. Because that makes sense to me. I was
Children are constantly throwing grammatical conjugations where you're just like, why? What is that for?
Right?
I don't know.
And that seems like a question a child would ask,
Yes.
too. You know what I mean? Well, maybe the unicorn's just going to get picked up by the ark that day,
Yes. You're absolutely right.
It's funny. I remember seeing that.
That would be a great children's book. We should work on that.
Right? That'd be cute.
Let's make a quick $1 million.
I remember seeing that meme. I love that meme, and it shows, I think it's like a unicorn and something else that's, not real. And they were like, it shows the ark sailing off in the background, and they're like, oh shit, that was today?
The unicorns are like, damn it. But isn't it wouldn't it make sense though that the unicorns have actually won, because they still remain a big part of lore and fantasy and just the world as we know it,
right?
So did it matter that they missed the ark?
I don't know. That's a good question. they live
still
on.
Won.
They live on
They
forever.
Still won.
I mean, they're more honestly, unicorns are more reasonable than angels and goblins and shit. I mean, it's just a horse with a horn. That's pretty normal.
They have magical powers too, though.
Do they?
They?
Well, I mean,
see, now I'm confusing a unicorn with a Pegasus. Hold on.
Oh yeah, well, no, I think they both have magical powers because unicorns, you can't catch them. They're very elusive.
Yes.
And
aren't they always the key to Legend too?
Wasn't there something with the horn in Legend where they had to do something with the horn?
Yes.
Okay.
But I guess, Brent, I'm a little confused. What exactly is your some type of way about this, though?
I just thought it was so funny that was a top question that was asked that many times to where it ended up all you got to do is put in Bible and Noah, or a Bible and unicorns, and it comes up. Did the unicorns miss the ark? I think that's fucking hilarious.
I think you're right. That is fucking hilarious, and I love how the heart of a 7-year-old was how come the unicorns weren't included in this?
Yeah.
This is so much. This is some serious inclusivity here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where are the unicorns?
Yeah, that's just what their main concern, It's why aren't there unicorns anymore?
Oh, it's such a the question is just built on such difficulty because it's you think the ark is a thing.
Right. And they can't tell them that it's not a thing.
Yeah.
But they also can't tell them that unicorns are a thing or ever were a thing. So, I mean, they're kind of stuck in this half-truth, just, cherry-picking, what they want the kid to believe.
It sounds a whole lot to me, when I get on my rampages of, going through A Song of Ice and Fire wiki and Reddit and trying to figure out why the fuck the Double D's did what they did.
Yeah.
Nikki, Game of Thrones is not real. It's not a real thing. You cannot go through the book to find proof of why the Double D's suck.
No, exactly.
It's all gobbledygook and boulder dash.
Yes. All made up stuff, and
your feelings are real, but they may not be valid.
Right. A lot of people had feelings about that, though.
My feelings are still so intense. It's so weird. It's been so many years, and my feelings are still so intense. And it doesn't help because some friends of ours played a YouTube video playing out how exactly the show could have ended, to be, one, just in line with the storytelling they'd already put down.
Right.
And also the books and like what we wanted for these characters. And it was so beautiful.
Right? Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, what a beautiful ending to a show. And they ruined
And they just wouldn't do any of that
I'm
stuff.
back on it. I'm back on it. This is
We're
why.
going to be on it for a while. I
Yes,
think.
but this is why religious wars just keep going and going because
Right.
we can't just invalidate our feelings and move on with our lives.
Right.
Great, some type of way, honey. Okay, so my some type of way this week is Ted Cruz.
Oh.
I was going to do this giant screed on the Catholic Church and PPP funds, but we'll do that another time because it's actually a much bigger story.
We can actually do a deep dive on that one.
Because like it's really it's awful how these PPP funds have worked out. But anyway, that's another story. I want to talk for a second about Ted Cruz because one, like everything that's happening in Texas right now is terrible. It is exactly the fear that we have in our own state of Florida because Florida and Texas are like weird, don't believe in regulation cousins. So like we're doing a lot of like, you know, just let the market decide things here. And that is the concern when another really huge hurricane hits of like, are we actually ready considering all the things that we're no longer putting money into or regulating well?
And
whatever.
It's like mostly just because everybody gets just pissed because they have to have a permit for their fucking shed. Like that seems to be all it takes to convince these people to just remove all regulation from everything. You know?
Well, I hate permits for sheds, so yeah, let's just remove all protections for everything. Fuck it, yeah.
Although
I get
it is bullshit that you got to get a permit for a fucking shed. That is absolutely insane. Like we're in the market for a shed right now, and I was looking through reviews, and they have to work very specifically in like certain areas of the city to make sure they're perfectly in line. And I'm just like, it's a fucking shed.
Yeah.
You just
we get
put
hit by
things in it.
hurricanes.
I
Stu.
get that, but as long as they all like the regulation should be on the shed seller, not on the fucking homeowner.
Okay, that's true. That's
like
true.
I don't like regulate them. I don't. Why do I need to be concerned about it? All I want to make sure is the fucking thing doesn't fly away. I can't. Like I'm not a fucking engineer. I mean, gosh. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about Ted Cruz because what has been really bothering me is like how after the insurrection, everybody started to pay attention to Marjorie Taylor Greene, which I think is fair. But then all the conversation of just like how awful Senator Hawley and Senator Ted Cruz were and how involved they were in this and how they were also responsible for stoking these flames of fire, just like it's dissipated now because the Republicans closed ranks and basically like made journalists think that they were stupid for even asking these questions. And so we have mostly moved on. We just all targeted Marjorie Taylor because she took up the stupid meter. Once she started saying stuff about like finding stuff about Jewish space lasers and shit, it occupied all of our focus. You know? I guess I also, the very cynical part of me wonders if that was an inside job too, because there is no reason why everything with Marjorie Taylor Greene blew up right then as opposed to the entire time she was running.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of us were talking about it, you know, but it seemed like the rest of the world didn't get it until after she, you know, the insurrection. And it was like she became the main focus of that.
Correct.
Mainly because she was calling for the execution of people on camera before they actually tried to do it.
Listen, I'm not arguing that Marjorie Taylor Greene is not like incredibly problematic and an indictment of the bananas shit that we're going to be dealing with in elections in future. But my whole thing was like, well, we got these two senators that we really should be drumming out because they have more power, they have more time,
right?
And they are contenders for the president, like presidential seats. So it seems to me like you should focus on that. And it seems really weird that all of a sudden it was like, let's focus on Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert instead. And it's just kind of like, okay, yeah, they're awful, but
it's like the Republicans are sacrificing their women.
Get them.
Go out there. Just don't look at me. Get them. Get them, guys.
And we know it's true because this is something they do constantly. We a couple years ago, we talked on our show. I think it was the 2018, right after the 2018 midterms. We did a whole story about how you can look at the pictures between the new members for the Democratic Party and the new members for the Republican Party. And what you saw was like, first of all, there were very few women.
Yeah.
Of the women who were there were just white women, and actually a lot of white women Republicans lost their seats.
To
white dudes in the Republican
Party.
Party. So it's like it is, and there was a whole story about how is the Republican Party gonna support white women, because if you're doing a whole white supremacy thing, like you got to have a space for both.
Women are 50% of that. You know?
Like. I mean, the Daughters of the Revolution, like they did a whole lot. Like the Daughters of the the Daughters of the Confederacy. That's it.
Yeah,
like they kind of like they did a whole lot of work for y'all. So you kind of like gotta keep a place for everybody in the fascist system,
right?
And they're not.
You're not fascisting, right?
Yeah.
You know?
But I feel like because we stopped focusing on Ted Cruz and Senator Hawley, like Ted Cruz really kind of took that energy and basically yeeted himself into the sun. And I'm going to say right now, I'm not a teenager and I don't have any. So if I just use that incorrectly, whatever. It works for me. I love it.
I don't know. I don't know.
Fred's like, I don't know.
Sounded okay. Sounded all right to me.
Because it does seem like, what possesses you to think that while you're like, I literally watched this man while he was he was on this plane, and I'm thinking to myself, and I hated him for making me think this, but I hated him because I'm like, even fucking Rick Scott would not do this,
right? Which is a low fucking bar, dude.
Like, Rick Scott would be on the ground in his fucking like hat and his like collared shirt, ready to do whatever. Yeah. And because he understands that like disaster politics is a thing. Like this is an opportunity for you to seem like you're in charge. And Ted Cruz saw it and was like, I'm just gonna go.
Right.
I'm just gonna go. And it's such an indictment of his behavior and the behavior of all these like ridiculously ambitious Republicans, because he did something that isn't allowed, which is he showed that I'm only in this for the shit I care about.
Right.
And if it's not something I care about, which is basically the crony capitalist bullshit and the playing, the trolling the liberals thing, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. Like I'm not interested in like actually doing the public service part of the job.
Right.
And as constituents, we're all like, that's the only part we're really interested in.
That's the only part he should be interested in at all.
Like, what is this? So I think it's just hilarious. I'm reading this article. I'm getting this from the New York Times. Ted Cruz's Cancun trip. Family texts detail his political blunder. This was published on February 18th this week. So can I just say, the fact that they have text messages is just hilarious to me. That means all your friends that you quote unquote think are your friends are ready to completely
just toss you under that bus.
Toss you under the bus. So first, let's talk about this, okay? So text messages sent by his wife revealed a hastily planned trip away from the freezing family home. So it's like millions of his constituents across Texas, Senator Ted Cruz had a frigid home without electricity this week amid the state's power crisis. Sorry, y'all. I don't know where my reading went right there. But unlike most, Mr. Cruz got out, fleeing Houston and hopping a Wednesday afternoon flight to Cancun with his family for a respite at a luxury resort.
Of course. Jeez.
So apparently their house was freezing, as Miss Cruz put it, and she proposed a getaway until Sunday. Miss Cruz invited others. I wonder why they're using... Oh, I want to see what the style guy says on that. Why they're using Miss Cruz instead of Mrs. But that's interesting.
Miz. It's Miz.
Look, no. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if she introduced herself as Mrs. Ted Cruz.
Right.
Like,
Oh, yeah. Put his
my
first name on there and everything. Yeah.
Although I'm not going to take shit away from her because she apparently makes all that finance money. So you know how that goes.
Big finance.
So Miss Cruz invited others to join them at the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun, where they had stayed, quote unquote, many times, noting the room price this week, $309 per night, which honestly is not that expensive.
No, that's luxury.
For a Ritz-Carlton in Cancun. That's like normal almost for
I know, right?
hotels. I mean, maybe I'm like way off because we're from Florida. We're from a tourist vacation, and our hotel rooms are pretty much always expensive.
Well, ours jump around. It depends, like when you go to a hotel, like what, because it bases
not
it
the
off
luxury
of
ones.
Tourist season.
Not really the luxury ones.
They don't jump up for tourist season.
Yeah, they jump up, but they stay consistently at around that 300 place.
Right. Okay.
So knowing that you can like go to Cancun and be at a really nice resort for just $309 per night, which is like the same for a luxury room in like Tampa.
Right. Yeah.
It's really wild to me.
That's interesting. Huh?
Anyway, the text messages were provided to the New York Times and confirmed by a second person on this thread who declined to be identified because of the private nature of the text. But I mean, at
one
this
of the
point,
kids are like,
but my question is, how many people were you texting in this chain?
Right? How many
in this chain? I don't know. But anyway,
it's weird.
Anyway, let's see. Yeah,
it's like, I got a screenshot for you. It's like,
pretty much. So the plan had been to stay through the entire weekend with the family. And the wild thing is, because, you know, at first he tried to get away with like, oh, I was just going to make sure they got there. And it was like, nah, bitch, you had a whole ass bag. That is not a stay. Like, legit, if you're just staying one night, you can get away with a fucking book bag. I certainly would. Yeah. I'm not going to do a whole, like, rolling suitcase for a night somewhere. Right. That makes absolutely no sense. So anyway, what's wild about this is he already knew that it was going to be bad, that this storm was going to be really terrible. Damn. Because apparently earlier that week he had been on a radio show and he said directly, like, Mr. Cruz had been acutely aware of the possible crisis in advance. In a radio interview on Monday, he said the state could see up to 100 deaths this week. So don't risk it, he said. Keep your family safe and just stay home and hug your kids.
Wow. And then he left.
And then
Jesus, what a fucking...
And then, of course, this is just rife for political fodder because there is, you know, a couple years ago, he attacked a Democrat, apparently Mayor Stephen Adler of Austin. Actually, not even a couple years ago. Sorry, in December. My bad. I was looking at something. I was thinking about that when he did that whole speech about, you know, emergency funds to end a crisis. But this is actually just in December where he criticized the mayor of Austin for going to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, while telling people to stay home during the pandemic. So but I mean, call that shit out. That's also bullshit. Like, where are you going? Stay home. Like, what are you doing? Your city is going through some shit. Stay your ass home.
Yeah.
But it's just wild to me that he just really thought he was going to get away with this.
Right. And that nobody would know.
He thought he was like it was just going to be normal. And then to know that he truly, like, what, can someone please start doing some in-depth investigations on what his office is actually getting done then? Because he's not introducing bills. He's not writing them. He's not getting them passed. And he's actually clowning other members when they're like, I don't want to work with you.
Right.
Because like, you don't know what you're doing and you're awful. And he's not just like doing the work. And he's also not using his connections to get work done either, because the idea that a senator doesn't have unique power in situations like this to connect people to get stuff done is insanity. That's the whole point of having senators. Right. So you can have a better connection to federal, state, and local government. That's who you are. That's what you are.
That's your job, man.
Like, this is up. I don't understand that. And so he's out here in the public, like, actually acting like he has no power, to which I say, state of Texas, Get rid of his ass.
Right? What are you doing?
Like who? I mean, you know, and I'm not going to go too hard on Texas because I know that state is probably blue.
Yeah.
If it weren't for suppression and the Republicans just doing what they always do in states like that.
And all the Republicans there are like, you know, we want a Ron Swanson to be leading our the guy that's going to fuck everything up on purpose and put the worst people on purpose, you know.
Yeah, and his plan had been to just work remote for a few days. Like
what?
Look,
Jesus,
you're a senator.
You
don't get to do that. I'm sorry. I know it sucks, and I feel I'm really conflicted too. And I'm like, whatever, you know, the consensus is fine, but I just don't. I don't understand how you can be a partner in children too, because like the children. You know, they're just children.
Yeah, they got nothing.
But it's like your point as a leader with responsibility is to demonstrate that commitment, that requirement to the people that you love. And they usually are ready to support you, so they wouldn't leave you either to be able to do that. And it's like the more information we get about Ted Cruz and his family, the more it seems that like, do they even like each other?
I don't think so. No, I don't think.
Like what is going on there?
The mom and the kids might like each other, but you know, I don't think they like it.
Yeah, because I'm like, did she talk him into this stupid shit, or did he just go along with it? Like, what? I don't get, because like if you had to do something,
sounded like she was taking some of the blame. Almost like maybe he convinced her to tell them that. You know,
I
or something.
guess, I don't know, but it's just like when during storms here, you have like more responsibility than like normal people because you work for someone that you have to take on that kind of responsibility. And it would never occur to me, like you work for an institution where you do have to take on that extra responsibility. And it would never occur to me to be like, okay, babe, I know you have to be here through this Category 5 hurricane to do your job.
Right.
But what I'm going to do is meet you in Mexico as soon as you're done. I want to be like, you're my fucking partner and I love you and you're in danger and oh my God, like, I need to be here. I don't know. But I'm just like, I don't understand a world in which, you know, and not to say that like his kids should be here to suffer. I get it. But it's just, this is such a bad look in so many ways. Because it's just so many questions of like, do you even care about your constituents? Does your family give a shit about your constituents? And if they don't give a shit about your constituents, is it because they're watching you model constantly not giving a shit about your constituents?
I think so.
In which case, what becomes of like future cruises? Because that's my concern of like these kids already have carte blanche to like have connection to the political world because their father was a senator. But now we're knowing that like he's modeling behavior of like not giving a fuck about humans. So I don't like, that scares me, you know, because that's always the concern. Look, I'm just going to always say like Jerry Falwell Jr. and fucking, what's his name? Billy Graham Jr. Those are always my goddamn like go-tos of like things get worse with generations because the rot starts at the bottom.
Right.
But anyway, like this is just, obviously this isn't just, I'm not really concerned about Ted Cruz's daughters, but
no, not
becoming evil or whatever.
We don't know.
I'm just joking. But it's just, this whole thing was just a terrible look. Like everybody in Texas, my heart goes out. I'm
so sorry. That's
awful. Like it's just, and it's sad too, because it's like, you don't want to be, you're a constituent, like you're suffering, you know, people are dying, people are without water, there's tons of water damage. Oh my gosh, these insurance claims, because that's another big thing too, is like marshaling in the insurance companies to make sure they're coming in and actually giving good, giving the policyholders what they deserve and are being fair. Like that's also another thing that's going to be really important for their government, their state, and like the federal government to take care of, because that was a huge thing. Like Sandy, I don't know if y'all remember Hurricane Sandy in New York, but that was like a huge thing of like the government having to step in because so many of those insurance companies are like,
You didn't check the box that said hurricanes.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, so like we got caught up in that in our own house. Like we had to get our roof replaced immediately.
Oh yeah.
Because of course,
they dropped
since the last time they did the fucking roof to now, there's all these new hurricane regulations by insurance companies because they got hosed during our last hurricane. Yeah. It's just a constant thing.
And they said they'd cover it, and then they decided not to. I don't get what the fuck. But anyway.
Yeah, we know how insurance companies work. But anyway, this has been just a terrible thing to watch in public, and I really hope that when 2024 comes around, it sucks that he's not up for re-election until 2024. Because the sad part is so much of this is likely to be forgotten, and I hate that.
And apparently you just can't get anybody removed. That seems to be, that's just fucking, don't even worry about it. Like, you don't even try, because it's not going to happen.
I'm low-key, like, in awe of California and their recall, rules, because we can't even recall our governor.
Wow.
He's just here. He's just here. So yeah. But yeah, that was just that. Texas, keep it remember this stuff the next election. Remember this, please. Remember this. You need some infrastructure. And what's going to be really interesting now is seeing how this is going to reverberate out. Because before all of this went down, the main conversation was how Texas was, getting all these new people because it's so cheap to live there. And so they're getting lots of people moving in from California, from Washington, from all these states that are getting kind of expensive because the world is expensive, y'all.
In those areas have just
and
gone
income
up.
Inequality and it's just it's a lot going on
really
there.
Bad.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to affect Texas now, because I don't know how many people you're going to have who live in Minnesota or other somewhat decent states. I'll totally move to Texas knowing that this is their response to any snow.
Right. Yeah.
There are no salt trucks, or they're just now doing salt trucks, or there was no plan. And I get it, it's unusual.
That's almost like going to live.
Very unusual.
If you have a government that responds that way to disasters like that, that's almost like you might as well just go move to an island with an active volcano. It's about the same risk. Assessment there.
If I'm gonna lose everything every time,
and give me some tropical weather.
Seriously,
okay?
and it's from the bottom to the top in the sense of the energy company and what they get away with, because Texas is such a regulatorily lax state. It's what the builders get away with when they build these houses, and with very little insulation. It's what you get away with from not having anything like salt trucks. And this is just a regulatory fail from the bottom to the top, and then we're going to see another regulatory fail when it comes to people trying to get whole from insurance agencies. Same shit we saw in because look, Houston has became an overflow for everyone in Katrina, because they couldn't be made whole, because it just was a disaster from top to bottom after Katrina. That it was just it's just a mass migration, that and it's something so New Orleans is still feeling to this day, and to the point where New Orleans culture is almost leaving. They're losing a part of their culture because so much of their population just had to go because they couldn't rely on their state to make them somewhat whole again after a disaster that they were largely responsible for. And it's just,
that was so fucked.
Yeah, it's terrifying that individual humans are up against a system that feels almost where do I even start? Where do you even start?
Yeah, exactly.
And it seems like the answer more than likely is just be wealthy.
Yeah, that's where you start. You start from wealth, and then
everything else will fix itself. So yeah, that was my some type of way this week. I seeing that was just woof.
Yeah, there was hundreds of articles on it, I swear. It was
as there should be, because it's one of them. It's probably the political gaffe of 2021.
Oh yeah,
at least so, it is. So far, it is deep.
That's right,
and that's a lot. That's saying a lot considering the insurrection happened also on January 6th.
Exactly. We're having gaffe after
which is
gaffe.
the political gaffe that should have mattered,
right?
But that's actually, I'm not even going to count that as a gaffe. That's
a tragedy. That was what that was.
Just
it's not even a gaffe.
That's not no. But this is definitely going to go down as one of those "Ooh, you showed yourself for who you really are and stop playing the game." Did you see Dinesh D'Souza tried to like make it out like, "Oh, he was fine because senators really can't do anything," thus letting us know how dumb Dinesh D'Souza is.
He is so dumb. Like, every time he says shit, I'm just like, how fucking stupid are the people that look up to you? Like, this is crazy. Like, every time he says like some argument, it's like it's taking it from like either the most like nihilistic mentality possible, you know, and it's just like just an excuse. They're just excuses most of the time, or just like completely flawed logic. It's amazing.
I mean, he just is he's a Republican fanboy.
He's a grifter. Yeah,
he's a Republican fanboy. That should just be his title now. He is just here to somehow lie in order to make Republican officials seem legitimate.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that was my September way.
Yeah. So we got some good news.
We certainly do have some good news. It's one of those things where it's good news and sort of like fuck. Okay, so the good news is, and I think I got this out of Washington Post, that Biden is nominating more public defenders and civil rights attorneys to be on the judicial bench.
Oh, good.
So that is really great news, considering, you know, we had 4 years of Trump and McConnell just pushing through every young white male that was conservative on the court.
Right.
So this hopefully will help to balance that out, since we have research showing us that Republican judges absolutely like sentence people of color for longer sentences.
Yeah.
And like this, like there is an actual consequence to having a largely Republican judicial bench.
Oh, yeah.
Versus not.
Right.
And so while this is good news, it's also kind of like, maybe this will start to push us more into the direction of having a really open and honest conversation about the fact that judges aren't neutral and judges do have political beliefs. And maybe we can start to talk about a way of nominating people that takes that into account.
Right.
Because just acting like the Federalist Society is normal is going to ruin us.
Yeah,
like it's going to ruin us. But that is really good news, because we definitely need more public defenders and civil rights attorneys on these, especially these criminal trials and these appeals, because whoo,
yeah,
things criminal justice reform definitely needed. But let's celebrate that for a second.
So
Yay!
That's good. It's like
some progress.
Yes,
some progress.
We're moving forward.
That's like all good news. It's just some.
Yeah, it's baby steps. But so if you do want to support us, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/unapologetics, spelled like the show. I do want to take a moment really quick here. I just want to thank our patrons. So yeah, I want to thank
you.
And we haven't done this in a while, and I apologize. But so Patreon customer service sunks donkey balls. Okay, that's I've heard that. I'm not really thrilled about Patreon all the time, to be completely honest, as far as so I get it. Larry and Utah Outcasts. So thank you so much for your patronage.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. If the rest of you, if you don't have the ability to do that or don't want to or whatever, that's totally fine. But we do need 5-star reviews.
Yes.
Okay. That's the one. Just go wherever your podcast player is, Apple Podcast, wherever you're getting it from. Just give us a 5-star review. It just helps us get in the shuffle a little bit more.
Yeah. And please share us.
Yeah.
If you're on social media and you like our show, please share us. Let people know that we're here.
Yeah.
We should start to do more of that work too. Probably.
Yeah.
You're doing great. You're doing great. I'm the
I
slacker here.
better.
I just hate social media, y'all.
Yeah.
So much. I'm trying to get over it, because I know that it's 2021 and this is the way of the world in the future now. It's just like, it's a lot, though.
Yeah. But if you want to email the show, the email is unapologetics666@gmail.com.
Yes, email us.
Yeah, we love hearing from y'all. Just any critique or anything like that, or you just want to comment, whatever.
Whoa. Don't be filling up our inbox with all that negativity shit. We don't need none of that. No, I'm just kidding. We're adults. We can handle anything.
Yeah, we can take it.
But yeah, reach out to us. We are also on Facebook.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. We also have the Unapologetic Secret Underground Party, and you can just send me a request for that, and we'll let you in.
Yes, and please, if you are in that group, you can send us stories and everything too. So
that's true too. You can
there's
post
stuff
stories.
you want us to cover, you can do that. We may cover it. We will cover our patron stuff, but we may cover stuff that you tell us. So
yeah, that's true.
Another reason to think about being a patron. I don't know. Yeah. So, Brent.
Yeah.
I was gonna say babe. Like babe.
Baby.
I never say baby.
Boo.
I never say baby. Why?
No, you don't. I know. I say it all the time. You don't.
Yeah, you do. But I'm just like, I don't know. The extra syllable is just too much for me. Babe, bae.
Oh, right.
Hey, what do we say to the haters, discriminators, and masturbator shamers? Fuck off. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Oh my God. Happy Black History Month, everybody. Meant to do that at the top of the show. I don't remember if I did anymore, but happy Black History Month. Next episode, we are definitely going to have some Black History facts in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, we should do that.
All right, next episode. Have a good one, y'all.
Take it easy, y'all.
I forgot for a second what I was doing. Like, you're podcasting.
You know how
everyone can hear everything that's happening.
You know how you make a handkerchief dance?
Oh gosh.
You put a little boogie in it.
Y'all, I was today years old when I heard that joke for the first time, and Brent informed me that was a church joke, and I was like, oh my God, church is just a bunch of dad jokes, isn't it?
It is.
It's legit just dad joke central.